I'm Kelly Phillips Badal from LUXE Interiors and Design. Thank you for such a warm welcome, and thank you all for coming out to Design Edge, which we are so excited is in Anaheim this year. This is fantastic. Before we totally jump in, I just want to pass the mic off to each person up on the stage to introduce themselves even further, because I loved that brief introduction, but each of you, I would love for you to tell everyone who you are, your firm name, and then we'll jump into everything. So, passing it to you first, Barclay, go.
I'm Barclay Butera. I own an interior design firm here based in Newport Beach with an office in Park City, Utah. We have 16 designers on staff, 37 people, and so I do that. I'm also a licensing person and have fun in this industry. So, thank you.
Hello, hello. Oh, that's much better. Sorry, that's what I get for not having my glasses on. Hi, everyone. I'm Jennfer Convy. I was a former designer. I full-time run a business networking organization called Women in Luxury Design. We have men and women. We do public and private events for the luxury design build, trade, and industry, and I absolutely love it. I love our ever-expanding community. It's all through California, Arizona, soon to be New York, and Dallas, and so forth. But I'm honored to be here on this panel with these esteemed friends. And we're going to share some fun stories for sure. Thank you so much.
This is why we do it. We're working on all the kinks.
I'm just a small-town guy from Palm Springs. My name is Christopher Kennedy. I never thought I'd be on a panel with Barclay Butera. And I have an interior design firm in Palm Springs, started about 20 years ago. We do interior design. We have a much smaller firm than Barclay. I'm just thinking about his 16 people, or 37 total, you said? So I've authored a couple of books. I have one product license, artwork for Wendover, and for 6 years I produced a show house for a Modernism Week in Palm Springs.
Which I did one of them.
And
yeah.
Barclay headlined our very last one, so yeah.
They're awesome.
I mean, that truly was an era, like a very special
It was.
era
We were just
in
talking.
Palm Springs. So
that opening night, oh. We all live for that.
we're just going to be up here reminiscing half the
yeah,
time.
we're just
but
hanging out.
Is this like homecoming, you guys? This is so fun to see everybody. This is awesome. Okay.
I know.
All right.
But we're also going to be dropping a lot of like wisdom and witticisms, among all
pressure.
other things. So just to kick things off, our panel is about how to attract the luxury client, and these are definitely the people to ask. I just want to say I have a quick answer to this too. Get yourself featured in LUXE magazine. We're done. We're done. We can leave. I'm kidding. I do think that will take you places, and of course that's what we want. That's what we hope.
My first cover was with LUXE.
It was. I didn't even know that. See, perfect example here, perfect example. But of course, we know there are levels to these things, and getting to that point is something that like I want everyone here to be able to do, as these folks have. So, I just want to say right off the bat that being in interior design is a luxury service just by its very nature. But of course, we know there are levels to this thing. So I want to ask each of you, everyone on the stage has experienced some pivotal moments within their career where they've leveled up, so to speak, and that's kind of what it takes to meet the right person. And these clients, I mean, it's kind of like a marriage half the time. We always recognize at LUXE, the projects we feature are sometimes 3 years, 4 years, 7 years. I had one. One even told me it was 10, and I think those pandemic years all blended into one blob of a year or something. But still, these are long-term relationships, and that's all part of it. So I want to turn it over to each of you. What was one of those pivotal moments during the course of your career, your illustrious careers, where you leveled up significantly? Barclay, you can kick it off.
You know, I tell this story because it was a really fun experience. I started this business when I was 28, so like 10 years ago. And
no one's counting.
Yeah. And around 30, I was asked by House Beautiful to do a show house in Bel Air. And I was the new kid on the block. I was the new kid on the block for LA, Waldo Fernandez, Suzanne Reinstein, Mary McDonald, like that kind of crowd were doing the show house, and they gave me the guest house. And again, I was young. I used to spend a lot of time in Palm Springs. I was very tan. I wore shirts like I vacationed to tan. It was like a very fun part of my life. And I did it all Rat Pack. And so I did it all kind of pale blues and whites and black. And it was very a fun event. And the whole goal of the event was to design a room for a star. And so you actually, it was for Children's Action Network, the charity in LA. And so you were supposed to bring a client that you'd work with, and that person was who you designed the room for. And, so I did like a great Moroccan tent as the entrance to my guest house, and kind of like had a lot of fun with it. And so we showed up to opening night, and my star was Eric McCormick. And this is when Will and Grace was incredibly hot. First time around, it was incredible. And he shows up with his family, and we do a lot of like press events inside the show house. And it's very interesting, but all the designers that participated did not have one star show up to this event. So before you know it, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, New York Post, I get covered by, and TV, I get covered by a lot of people because Eric was my guy. And, then the next one I did in Brentwood with Jenny McCarthy. So, I actually had a lot of fun doing these. And I would say that was a pivotal point in my life where it took me to luxury design at a very, very young age. So
That's so fabulous. And I feel like there's a good lesson in there of like being hungry with a little luck tossed in there too. But you got this reputation of being a little bit celebrity friendly after that, and that can take you places, which is fantastic. So, Christopher, you've gone through some pivotal moments in your career. Tell us about one.
I have. Talking about a leveling up, which was your question, I think the point is that you're like always leveling up. And just when you think that you've arrived, you kind of realize that there's maybe another dream or something else to look forward to. And I've gotten to a place where I've gotten to meet my icons like Barclay, and on and on and on. You kind of realize there never is one end there. Like you never get there. It's always moving. So we're like always leveling up. And my most recent big one was back in 2019. I'd already done 5 or 6 of my show houses. Barclay had done the last one. I was Christopher Kennedy in Palm Springs, and a new client called. It was after Modernism Week. She bought a house that was featured, not our house, but like one of the houses that was featured. It was a flip. She bought it full price, cash, first day. She's from Seattle. She was like in sales, or actually VP of sales for a big private equity company, like my ideal client. I meet with her. I had just decided to start charging a flat fee. I was charging hourly, and I was really terrible at keeping up with my hours. Anyone else in the room? Am I alone? Okay, thank you. Okay, so I just began charging a flat fee, and I thought I was like really doing great. I was charging, you guys, I charged her $4 a square foot. Now, okay, come on, Boo, just go ahead. Throw your water at me.
For shame.
So I was like, here's my contract. No, the houses in Palm Springs are not very big, you guys. These are not McMansions in Newport Beach. Like, this was 3,000 square feet. And that's big for a mid-century house. So my fee was like $12,000 to design her entire house. We ended up tearing out all the bathrooms because she didn't like what the flippers had done. I didn't charge her separately for that. My husband project managed it. We didn't really charge her for over the summer doing all that. She wrote that check so fast, you guys. Signed the contract while I was there. She was like, can I pay you in full? I'm like, yeah, sure. So we do the house over the course of the summer. We do the big reveal. I'm a big believer in the big reveal and the whole thing being an experience. We can talk about that later. I think you can charge more when it's an experience. So we do all that. She tells us it was the second best day of her life for the big reveal, second only to her wedding day. She's now divorced the guy that she's with, so I guess now it's the best day of her life. Anyway, flash forward. It's Christmas time. She has me over to thank me. We become friends. We're having champagne. She says, you be me. I'm going to be her. She's like, Christopher, now that we're friends, and now that my project is done, I have to tell you, you need to immediately double or triple your fees.
You do.
When your client is telling you that? So she said, when I told people I was going to call you, their first reaction was, can you afford him? So I was either doing something very right or very, very wrong, that like my ideal client thought she couldn't afford me. And she said, she told me she is a very smart woman in sales. She said, people have an expectation that they get what they pay for. And she said, your fees are actually turning off your ideal client. It is a red flag. She's like, why is he so cheap? Something must be wrong. And like, people don't want the cheapest. Our ideal client isn't driving the cheapest car. Like, they're not wearing the cheapest shoes. They're not buying the cheapest house. She said, you will get more and better clients when you raise your fees. And she was absolutely right.
Absolutely. I love that. And to what you were saying at the top of this is that, remind your clients when they argue on price or something, if you're just starting out and you're figuring that out, and like you said, it's a work in progress. This is a luxury industry. To have an interior designer is a luxury service. It is not about being cheaper. I remember in the beginning clients saying to me, well, we're supposed to be saving money by having a designer. I was like, what? What? How? No, mistakes are expensive. So that's why you leave it to the pros. But anyway, I came from over a decade of my own interior design shows and international architecture shows, and I came back to LA and I felt like a stranger in my community. And I will tell you that from doing room makeover shows on the one hand and then super high-end luxury stuff, personally and professionally, I was really frustrated. And with the perception, I was on HGTV, A&E, so cheap, interior design, faster, all that stuff. And listen, HGTV made interior design user-friendly to the general public. It made it sexy, and so there's all that stuff. So it's our job to educate the clients that here's what really goes on. But I was really frustrated, and I had to check in with a life coach, a gal that has saved my butt many, many times. I only see her every few years. It seems to be the regular. And I just said, I'm so frustrated. I want to level up my clients, but I have this persona, and what do I do? And I pay a lot of money, and it was 3 hours. And she says, well, get better clients. And I went, yeah, I know, but she said, Jennfer, you know better people. And I went, oh yeah, I live in Los Angeles. I come from an entertainment family. I have access to, wait a minute. I literally got out of there and I felt like, okay, but now what? My phone rang. It was friends. They have homes in 4 countries, one in Brentwood. And they said, we were driving along and we need some help. And I wound up doing a lot of their homes. That's how quickly it happened. It was just sort of planting the seed, permission to go. So if you don't know better people, go where the clients are, or put the word out. And sometimes it's just simply, do you need work? They don't think you need work. Right. If you're on TV, they're going to go, oh, really? You're available?
She's too busy. He's
right.
too famous. She's too famous.
Also, if you want to break into another market, let them know, hey, we work over here too, and we do this. It's just out of sight, out of mind, and make sure to put it out there. That's my story.
I love that. Well, and I think one of the lessons here that I'm gleaning from all of you is that the right project, even one project, can take you places. It can really get you to the next client. It can get you in front of the right people. It can get you press attention. You never know where that might take you. So just do it. It's the Nike slogan, just do it. Just go for it. But I also want to take you all back in the sense that, in today's day and age, I hear so many designers that send projects to us at LUXE say, oh, my clients found us on Instagram. Our clients found us on social media somewhere. And I love that. But that wasn't happening when you all started your careers.
Are you calling us
Barclay's
old?
only been
Are you
in it for
calling us
10
old?
years. But
She's calling
still.
us old. Yeah.
But still, so
me in
I'm
particular.
curious, like if you had to reestablish yourselves today in this day and age, knowing all the things you knew, if you were starting from zero, what would you do? And I'd argue, for instance, that like things like social media, things like your website might become much more important because that's kind of your business card. That's the first thing people say. But what would you guys say? Like, what would you do first?
Well, I mean, from the very beginning, I started my firm when I was like 27 or 28 too, and I invested in photography like early on. I mean, I would skip a vacation, or something. I literally would like, this is really important. Like, I know like that is our calling card. We don't always have access to our clients' homes later. So I would do what I did again, which is investing in photography. I think it was important then, it's important now. What I think is different now is it's just a lot easier. I remember my first website, like you were still kind of like doing coding, or like it was all, you had to hire, it was just a much more mysterious thing. And now like it's so, I think if you're starting out or you're younger, or like you just want to level up, you can make yourself look much bigger and more established, and like you have your act together more than you really do with like templates that you can buy online for websites these days.
It's totally the
social
fake it
media
till you make
templates,
it
like,
thing, right?
It's a bit, or it's, I prefer like acting as if, or manifesting, or putting yourself on that vibrational level. I'm like a big woo-woo, like Abraham Hicks guy, so like putting yourself on that vibrational level, acting as if, not necessarily faking it. But I think you can do it a lot more affordably now. Like my first website was really expensive, and now you can do it a lot more affordably through some of the tools that are out there.
Everything he said, for sure. I also want to say, never underestimate the power of in-person FaceTime. Doing this.
Yeah.
Become an expert at what you're doing, getting to the markets, which are so prevalent now. I didn't have that.
That's how I got my LUXE cover. I was talking to
There you
Joe
go.
Fuji Campbell at like Spring
Yep.
Market at PDC.
It's like seeing a live show versus a movie. You're going to remember the live show and the interaction of that, and it's 30 seconds of FaceTime. I have a business networking organization. I know this to be true. We're judgmental as human beings. I think I know and like them. That's also to get the job as well, right? So you got to bring the best version of you. Are you relatable, friendly, trustworthy? Gee, I might want to know more about that person. And it's really important to make those 30 seconds count and get out in front of people as much as possible, get really comfortable doing that. That is your calling card, because we hire people.
Yeah.
You could have the best portfolio in the world, and if they don't feel they know you, like you, that you're trustworthy, you do not get the keys to the kingdom, because you're moving in with them, you're going to know more about them than their family members, and it's a huge investment, right? So that's what I would do differently. I wish I'd gotten out there earlier.
I think that relationships are everything, and I think that the more we get out there and create relationships, and the biggest compliment that I feel is referrals. And when you have a client that refers you, then that client and that client might be on a level that maybe you want to go to another level, but you have to remember you have to put in your time. And I think in my life, it's been referrals after referrals after referrals, and going back to the fact that really the biggest compliment you can have from a client is you get invited over when everything's all, you become part of the family. So for better or worse, you become part of the family. I always say that we're psychologists for the home, or psychiatrists for the home, because we know what's in the drawers, we know what's in the bathroom. Like, we are there for them. I have a really wealthy client right now, and if she doesn't text me every day to tell me she's getting her nails done, but she just thought of something and she's texting me, or I just got a new car, but don't tell anybody what I just got because my husband's getting his 112-foot yacht delivered, so I told him that I need my new car, and I go up, and it's a brand new Rolls Royce, and I'm like, oh, this is like nice, and she's got her Bentley in the desert, and I'm like, I like this world. I told her, I said, I want the Bentley now that you got the Rolls Royce. But no, I really have fun with these kind of clients. Now, I think that we also have to realize they require more time, and so I would say that the wealthier they are, the more they want attention. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that they're used to it. So just get ready to spend more time with the client and charge accordingly. Like this client, I charge hourly because she's, I don't want to say I don't want to say a mess, but she's a mess in her own world, you know, like she dropped her phone in the water getting on her Duffy the other day, so I had to call the boat phone for about 2 weeks. Like she is just hilarious. So she starts my day every morning with something funny with her text. So I do have fun with this one, but she's a lot of work. So
And you're charging her.
yeah, exactly.
I think the point is they're happy to pay.
Yeah.
Like they are not afraid of money. So something about attracting the ideal client is something that my mentor James Magny taught me is like, do not impose your budget on your clients, because they are probably very likely vastly different unless you're independently wealthy, and if you are, congratulations. I was not. So don't impose your budget on your clients. And what Barclay was saying is so smart, but it also means saying no to those people that are not your ideal client. And that's the hardest part, right? You guys, like when you have a payroll or maybe it's a slow month and you want to say yes to those smaller clients that maybe aren't aligned with your ideal client, it just takes the energy and the time away from the people that you need to be serving. So like you have to raise your fees to service the better client. Like it's a cycle, and it really means blessing and saying no politely to the people that are, and I'm telling myself this right now, not you, because I have to do it. I had to do it yesterday, and it's really hard to do, but you have to learn to say no gracefully.
If I may, I have some very young new designers in my orbit, and we're friends, and I see that and I remember that, where you want to work, you want to establish yourself, maybe it's a room, or you're starting slowly, but you have to be careful about that, because then you get stuck in the weeds and you won't be available to do the bigger jobs that come to you. So get a different job, work at night or something, in a service, so that you're available during the day to do that. Just a piece of advice. Can I do one more story?
Please.
It made me think. When I was 20-nothing, I was super young. Didn't know anything, and I had a job interview. I needed a job, and it was a big furniture manufacturer. I'm not going to say who. And oddly, I had a round 2 meeting with the owner, the co-owner, in his office at the warehouse, not the showroom. And I remember going in, this is back in the day, right? We're talking about a different time, when there was a receptionist, and she said, oh, he's on the phone, but he's expecting you. You can just go right in. So I walk in, and there's this nice man, very dapper, and he's on the phone, and he's holding the phone out this far, and I can hear the man on the other side of that call screaming at him. I said, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you sure? And he does this. He goes, it's okay. Yep, no, all good. And the man is reaming him a new you-know-what. And I am mortified. I am so embarrassed, don't know where to look. And he hangs up the phone. Okay, well, we'll take care of it and I'll get right back to you. And he hangs up. Hi, nice to meet you. And I'm like, hi. And he says, are you okay? And I said, yeah, is everything okay? And he said, oh, that? Oh, it's only an OFF. And I looked at him blankly like, what? He goes, it's only an OFF. It's only freaking furniture. Only he didn't say freaking. I went, that's his livelihood. He says, oh, no, what that means is, listen, nobody's dying. There's only 3 solutions. Fix it, replace it, pay for it. Yeah. That has carried me through the rough, because, all kinds of stuff happen, and your high-end clients don't want to hear in the weeds. You're going to take care of one of those 3 things or all 3 of them, and they'll never know about it. They just want the item. They want whatever happened. And that helped me in TV tube production, room design, and all that. It was like, okay, wait. Stuff will happen. We'll have a post-mortem meeting. Let's just talk about solutions. Just solutions.
I love that you say it's only furniture, because that's what I say all the time. Like,
nobody dies.
Are we gonna literally be so worried when it's only furniture, you guys? So at the end of the day,
respectfully.
Yeah, respectfully. But I think that it takes a lot of breath to say it's only furniture. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Agreed. And I love these stories. I will pile on one little one little gem of wisdom that I've heard from other designers that I'm sure all of you would agree with. When you talk about passing on a job, which is a very difficult thing to do, so I commend you for doing this even like yesterday, Christopher. Another designer told me, oh, I just send them off in a limousine. And what he meant by that was he recommends another designer who might be better for them, and then makes that connection, and then sends them off with well wishes and flowers and unicorns and things like that, basically. And all relationships are preserved and maybe even enhanced with the other designer. And I love that. But to dovetail on yours too, Jennfer, I loved what you were talking about with furniture. And there's a lot of things we could say in this world, like, hey, it's not brain surgery, it's not life and death. It is furniture. It is important in its own way, but it is only furniture.
There's a solution.
There's a solution. But I also want to piggyback on that in the sense of relationships, which you mentioned are such a cornerstone of this business, Barclay. Those relationships extend to all the brands that are even here today. So I'd love each of you to talk about how you have formed and maintained relationships with different brands. The people who will take your 2 a.m. phone call and say, like, sorry, this is wrong, we have to fix it. I hope it's not at 2 a.m., but in case it's a situation like that. What does it take to maintain those? What's the importance of those? How has that underscored your success in your business?
So I'm a little bit, when I say support brands, so with the licensing or
both the licensing, sure, but also like just any vendor that you work with, the people that you source furnishings from, all those relationships,
I think
the
that,
fabrics, the more.
You develop those relationships over years. And what Lee has done here is allowed us to get to know manufacturers that show here and maybe don't show at High Point, or we can't afford to go to High Point, so you come here to meet these manufacturers. But it is so important you develop relationships, that you have this relationship that you do have a problem with something that was shipped and maybe it came in damaged, and you have the right person to call. And when you have that kind of relationship, you feel the support that you need to have with the confidence that you're selling a product that's going to be taken care of. So I do think developing relationships with manufacturers is imperative. So,
I'll go. I agree, 100%. I think it's all about your relationships and the brands and the suppliers and vendors and subcontractors that you work with. That makes or breaks your work. I think that having brands, and I always say, designers are busy people, and we will go to the same 8, 10 top people that we go to over and over again because they deliver and they got my back, right? When stuff, they say shift focus and shift happens. You got to have those people. And so that's really important. A friend of mine, Rahid Mabrar, she just did an HGTV, House Hunters, and she said she couldn't have done it. She was on my podcast, and she said, no, I couldn't have done it if I didn't bring the GC, my GC, if I didn't have the tile company, because there's no way they pay for that, and that's the secret behind TV that you don't know about. She couldn't have done it and would have missed that opportunity. But that's just how it should be. You should have your people and you hone in, and you need to check in with them if you haven't used them in a while. This happened to me. They've streamlined, the same people that used to deliver aren't there, and it's just not the same. It's not that we don't want more tools to paint with brand-wise, more products, more colors to paint with and create with. It's just that we tend to not have time. So going to the markets and aligning yourself with brands that you love, that'll be there for you, it goes both ways.
And
right?
being a bigger customer, a fewer brand saves you time as you're procuring and doing procurement. And then also, when something happens, obviously if you're a bigger customer, they're going to take care of you. So I think it's like charging more and serving fewer clients in a deeper, more meaningful way. Let's just choose the handful of brands that are in line with your aesthetic and whose people you like, and be a better customer. It's easier on you time-wise. And then when something goes wrong, they're probably going to have your back more than if you only bought one thing in 5 years, right? It's just, and also I think brands are just people. We realize too, brands are made up of people. And we are all in this together. We all want the same thing at the end of the day. And so when you kind of realize the people behind these brands, which is why this event is so great as High Point on the markets, you get to know the people behind the brands, find the ones who are your tribe, and then work with them.
100%. And if you aspire to have a line with a brand, to do licensing like Barclay, like Christopher, then those relationships, again, are where that starts. If you're someone who's worked with this line for years and years, your name might be in that hopper. And I don't know, Barclay, you can add on to this if you want about how those licensing lines came to be. But
It
that's
goes
kind
back
of
to
the
relationships, actually. It goes back to being authentic, creating relationships, not having an ego. And I feel like when I connect with the manufacturer and we do licensing, that's the relationship that I like to develop. So here I have fine art handcrafted lighting. I have left bank art. I have Eastern accents here. And these have been all long-term relationships. So I really value these relationships that I've created and the way it's kind of, we've become a family, to tell you the truth. So it's great. It's great. So with 14 licenses, I've got to become a family with a lot of different people. So yeah.
It's a big happy family. That's fantastic. Well, we've talked a lot through about the ways that you can attract a luxury client, but I'm curious, what are some ways you can completely turn someone off? What are the mistakes that might turn off the right client? Jennifer's got some anecdotes ready to go. Good Lord.
Okay, truth be told, it wasn't me. It was somebody I know. No, that's the truth. A very talented interior designer was sort of starting out, but she had already done some big projects, and she and her assistant were in their storage unit, right, where they were staging, getting everything ready for a giant reveal, and they were covered in sweat and dust, and they were in flip-flops and t-shirts, and they'd been there all day moving stuff with the movers, and they get a call. They had for 6 months been working on this referral. It was a well-to-do couple. Talking about know your audience, know your customer. Well-to-do couple, very proper, in huge estate. It was a $1 million design job. She really wanted this. She had a track record, but she was new-ish. And that's why she got referred. She did beautiful work. And they got a call from the assistant while they were in the storage unit. And they said, you know what? They're actually leaving the country, but they said to call you. I think they're ready to sign. Where are you? Can you come? She goes, I'm in the storage unit and blah, 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 and I don't know. And anyway, they went as is. They tried to clean up a little bit, and they went. And the meeting didn't go so great. And they left there, and she called the assistant and said, you know, we didn't hear back. And she says, yeah, I wanted to let you know. They were very confused. They thought it was very disrespectful how you came to that meeting, and they changed their mind. They don't know you well enough. You can't do that. It's, you know, and she was crushed. A lot of proposals, a lot of work went into that. But it was a really powerful lesson. I never forgot it. And it's something I think is a really good thing to remember. If you are going to be their expert in their style and their design, then you have to walk the walk and talk the talk. And then if you're in your clean sweats or whatever for install day, that's okay. They already know you. But no. Anyway, heartbreaking story. Yeah.
That's a very powerful story, for sure.
I'm not sure this is exactly the answer to your question, but I think that's something that if you want to attract a luxury client and say not to, you have to get comfortable talking about money. Like, period, end of story. You have to ask for the money, you have to talk about the big numbers, you have to be confident talking about it, or that's going to turn them off. I mean, money isn't the problem for these people. Like, it might be our problem, and it might be your problem, but that's not their problem. Time is their problem. Stress is their problem. Information, having information, getting the right amount of meaningful information on a timely fashion is a concern to them. So to answer your question, you have to be communicating with them regularly. They don't want to be inundated, but generally I think your ideal client is used to having information and making quick decisions, and they just want to be informed. Like, even if it's bad news, they can handle it. With enough money, you can solve almost any material problem, and they probably have enough money, so they're not stressed about that. Give them 2 or 3 options at different price levels, they're probably going to choose the most expensive one. So, like, not communicating with them is definitely a big red flag, and I think not from the very first meeting being confident talking about money, because that you have to ask for the sale. And it took me a long time to say, hey, if this proposal looks good, wire $500,000 and we'll get going, right away. But you have to get to that level of confidence. See, I just stuttered saying it, right? But like, you have to be able to talk about money without any real emotion about it. It's just energy and exchange, and they're comfortable talking about it. And if you're not, that's going to be a huge turnoff.
Actually, I'm going to give you a compliment because I have a friend who actually has passed away, and Bruce Bastian, and Christopher was a huge designer for this client, and I've always heard great things about Christopher's work and his approach, and this man was a very, very wealthy man, and I think you did, 2 houses for him?
We did. Bruce invented the first word processing software kind of in the world called WordPerfect. If you're old enough that you maybe began learning how to type on WordPerfect, he basically invented word processing and then was a very philanthropic guy. And we were building a big house for him 2 years ago. And he was diagnosed with, well, actually, he had a big house in Utah, like 40,000 square feet. We were building a small 5,000 square foot house for him in in Palm Springs. And he got diagnosed with a terminal disease halfway through the build. And
But I mean,
thank you.
What I've really heard great things about Christopher from that client. And so when you know these things and when you know the client that Christopher's working with and you hear good things, it really is, referral. And it's something that I'm proud of you. So thank you.
This is going to turn into a cry fest up here.
So
I
sweet.
love this.
I've admired you since I started, so that's very meaningful to me. So thank you, Barclay.
This is amazing. You guys are incredible. I'm like so honored just to be on the stage talking with you too. But just to wrap things up, before I want to invite you all to continue these conversations with all of us, and to of course go and enjoy the event and talk to as many people as you possibly can, I wanted to ask each of you. You look down at us from kind of a long career, all of you. If you had to give yourself any advice, your younger self, what would that be, just to end things away?
I think with me, I got to be 132 people in 7 offices, and I think that you've got to find your sweet spot. And being even at 37, it's difficult at times, but I think we're much closer to our sweet spot than we were when I was far too big, and then 08 hits, and you get humbled really, really quickly. So I would say always look for where you're comfortable, what you want to risk in this world, and actually how much time you want to have to yourself. Because at the end of the day, these people own you if you go to this higher end client, and how much of personal time is valuable to you. So those are the things that I would say about getting into this industry, and really, I think this industry can really humble you in some ways. So it did with me. So and I love the industry. It's just, you learn as you proceed through life. So I learned a lot, and still will. So yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Life will humble you. It has a way. Always keeps you in check. I would say for me, I wish and I wish this for anybody. I have a 20-year-old niece, you know, who's fearless. And I wasn't raised that way. I did take risks, so I would say I wish that I took bigger risks, even those calculated ones, sooner and more often. Because when you do, it's usually worth it. If it's not a frivolous risk, right? I mean, a calculated risk. I just think that's the time to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and then it shifts and shakes out and you figure it out. That's all.
And the right time is now, right? Like the right time to start is right now. Like there's never a perfect time. You're never gonna have the right amount of money in the bank or the right amount of knowledge. You just have to start. I would say just like trust yourself and value yourself and trust your instincts. And I think most of the regrets that I have or mistakes I made are when I didn't listen to my heart or my gut or my instincts. I think if you are asking yourself, is that paint just a bit too red? Like, it probably is. If you're saying, is that chair too big? It probably is. Is this client going to be a problem? They probably are. So, like, listen to that inner voice and trust yourself and know your value.
And know your value. Yes, that's a really good spot to end on. So
And if we can do it, so can you guys.
that's right. Thank you all so much. Thank you to everyone here. Thank you to Lee Hirschberg for
Thank
putting
you,
this
Kelly.
all together and the rest of the Design Edge team.